China is changing fast and in so many different and world-beating ways. From supersized buildings to high-speed rail and giant cuddly pandas.
All are symbols of the scale of China's ambition and are designed to impress the rest of the world as well as their own citizens.
But are they really going the right way to win the hearts and minds of a global, travel-hungry public? And do they even want to? Are they perhaps more interested in tapping into the growing spending power of their own tourists rather than the likes of you and me?
On my journey, I'll be granted unique access to the world's second tallest building, while it's still being built in Shanghai. And then move on to examine how China's ancient history is being repackaged in Xi'an. In Chengdu, I meet one of the natural world's great survivors, dance with the locals, and see the true extent of China's retail revolution in the world's biggest building. Before visiting one of China's crop of boom towns, Hefei, which in many ways represents the true face of Chinese expansion.
There's one city that symbolises China's breakneck speed of growth over the last 20 years. It's this one, Shanghai. It was once Asia's busiest trading port, but its lustre faded up until the 1990s. And then that skyline appeared, and the greatest urban transformation the world had ever seen had begun.
Take me outside, sit in the green garden.
Today, Shanghai boasts more buildings higher than 400 meters than any other city in the world. Its motto appears to be bigger, better, bolder. And now there's a new kid on the block. Still a work in progress, the $2.5 billion Shanghai Tower will trump the lot when it opens at the end of 2014.
I'm standing now on the 101st floor of what will become the second tallest building in the world. By 2016, China will have more skyscrapers than anywhere else.
5 years in the making, the twisting asymmetrical structure of the Shanghai Tower is designed to maximize efficiency and minimize the effects of strong gales and potential earthquakes.
The most difficult building in the world right now. So the design of the building is very complicated.
When this building is finished, when you saw that building finished,
Yeah.
which you also worked on,
Yeah, right.
how did you feel when you went to bed
Yeah.
that night?
Right.
How did you feel?
Yeah. So I thought I had bad time build that building, and then I come here and I know that was nothing.
But some observers wonder if this obsession with supersizing everything in Shanghai, and the rest of China for that matter, is to do with face, the need to show prestige.
We built this building with the Chinese engineers, and then we have all Chinese workers to build this building. And this is the most complicated building. So we feel so much glory.
This triumvirate of skyscrapers best defines the heights of the city's ambition. Like successive generations of a family, each has towered above its predecessor. And it certainly seems, for tourists, this is Shanghai's calling card.
I think for a lot of the history here in China, we've gone to other places like Beijing and Xi'an, which have much more to show. But this city has an amazing skyline.
More interesting is the skyline.
When men are trying to be God, they're trying to touch the sky.
But new construction in a crowded city almost inevitably means demolition and upheaval too. And relatively short though it may be, that threatens Shanghai's historical legacy.
This entire neighborhood has been demolished. Before the demolition, my family was living here, and my grandma was living for her entire life.
ZHOU was born and brought up here. He's seen the neighbourhood come down, and today he's watching it transforming into a huge commercial complex.
The city might say, well, that is progress. That's going to make big business, big money. Is it good?
Money-wise, some people was making lots of money, but meanwhile, the community has been dismantled. It's easy to building a building, but it's very hard to build the community.
Now, some people say that the way that the whole city has changed, it has ruined local neighborhoods that used to exist, the heritage, the history, and that Shanghai has no soul because of these tall buildings.
The Shanghai Tower have a very unique soul that gave the sample of the future high-rise in anywhere in the world.
As for Daniel, well, his next job is on what is expected to become China's tallest skyscraper in Shenzhen, and in the pipeline, construction on the world's first 1 kilometre-high superstructure. How high can they go, these buildings? Is there a limit to how high they can go?
Well, virtually there's no limit. Dream of a building, and then we engineers will have to realize their dream.
So for the next stage of my journey, I leave behind the dazzling modernity of Shanghai as I head some 1,400 kilometres west to ancient Xi'an. If Shanghai sells itself as being faster, taller and flashier, then here in Xi'an it's all about being older, deeper and grander, because the future of tourism in Xi'an is all about the past. With a history of more than 3,000 years, Xi'an is one of the oldest cities in China and was its capital over 13 dynasties. And even Xi'an's present invokes centuries-old traditions and crafts. But the region's star attraction is a world-famous archaeological discovery that draws around 4 million visitors a year. The Terracotta Army, standing guard over the underground tomb of Emperor Qian Shi Huang.
This is one of the most extraordinary finds the world has ever seen, made all the more remarkable that it was discovered by chance by a farmer in 1974. And what's really special is that no 2 soldiers' faces are identical.
From a historical and archaeological point of view, this is a very important place for China's history and culture. This is a symbol of a strong nation, artifacts from the Qin Empire. China used to be many kingdoms, and Qin united the nation.
This may be one of the world's most celebrated and famous archaeological finds, but Xi'an is not content to rest there. There's a grand vision to recreate Xi'an's original urban layout of 1,000 years ago by 2020. Beneath my feet, exploratory excavation on the site of China's first and largest man-made lake, Kunming, which supplied water to Xi'an for more than 1,000 years before drying up.
When eventually this site is complete, what will tourists who come here, what will they see?
When it's completed, the environment in West Xi'an will be improved and it will attract people to the area. Kunming Lake has a famous history. It was an important tourism spot during the Han and Tang dynasties.
It'll be fantastic. Yeah.
All around the city, monuments, pagodas and mosques adorn the streets, some original, some not. Like Daming Palace, where important state affairs and grand banquets were held during the Tang dynasty over 1,000 years ago. This latest version was reconstructed in more recent times. Millions of tourists come from all over the world to visit, and the 2020 plan aims to boost those numbers. Not all reconstructions are successful, though. Like Yipang Palace, which hit the headlines in 2013 for all the wrong reasons. Originally built in 212 BC, the former imperial home was recreated in the year 2000, then panned as fake, and after proving a commercial failure, knocked down again. Indeed, some of the 80 million or so tourists who visit every year do appear confused about the blurred line between restoration and recreation.
They're modernizing the old history, so you don't know when it's fake or when it's real. That's a little bit tricky.
When you look around, you see all these old buildings, but then you're like, wait, they're not old. they're just rebuilt, but then in like Chinese style. So they do keep the culture intact. I have mixed feelings about it because it still looks Chinese, but it's not like 1,000 years old, and that's what you actually come for.
The fake one is very harmful. You can't compare it to the original one. What's more important is that everyone, residents and tourists alike, should have the right to learn about the authentic cultural heritage, be close to it and appreciate it.
A new version of Yipang, at a reported cost of $6 billion, is under development today, but many of the ambitious plans for the city, as well as restoration, involve the relocation of an estimated 100,000 people.
We should judge it from two sides. On the one hand, this is a solution to protecting cultural heritage. On the other, for economic reasons, the local residents should cooperate with it. And there is one other solution. They could get a job at the relic site.
Ultimately, experts say the future success of Xi'an's dream depends on how sensitively it's carried out. Stay with us as I continue my journey across China to meet this great survivor and to find out if traditional tourism hubs like Chengdu can cope with huge numbers of new arrivals, before getting a taste of how rapidly sprouting satellite cities are weighing in with their own unique charms. See you after the break. On my trip so far, I've seen incredible feats of human ingenuity that push the boundaries of gravity and scale. But in my next stop, over 600 kilometres away in Chengdu, they've pushed the very limits of nature, achieving something that 50 years ago was thought impossible: breeding giant pandas in captivity. The project here at the research centre has attracted international renown and tourists in their millions. The species is endangered, threatened by loss of habitat and an extremely low birth rate. Even here at the centre, nurturing the tiny newborn cubs is a painstaking process.
This fellow here is called Ui, and he's quite famous because he was born in 2006, and he was the smallest weight for a baby panda ever to be born and then survive. Now he is something like 110 kilograms and actually manages to eat 30 kilograms worth of bamboo shoots and apple and whatever else every day. So he's doing all right.
The panda is an iconic species in China, and Chengdu is the only megacity that has wild panda and captive panda. They're Chengdu's calling card and attract large numbers of tourists.
The pandas are a box office smash for the city, generating billions of dollars for the local economy. Latest estimates show that tourism in Chengdu went up by 7% in 2013. That's in stark contrast with a national trend where numbers are down. But what effect will this tidal wave of people have on the area? The UN's tourism organisation has launched a project to gauge the impact.
You know, the huge population in China always causes a big jam in many tourist destinations. The government is doing several things to distribute all these tourists, and in Chengdu there are many places to go.
And now there's a new attraction in town, the world's biggest freestanding building, no less. Like most things about modern China, the proportions of this place are mind-blowing. An enormous cinema, a water park complete with fake beach, and hundreds of international brands. You have to pinch yourself to remember you're actually in communist China.
They say you can fit 20 Sydney opera houses in this building, and in terms of square meterage, it's the equivalent of 266 football pitches. Still not doing it for you? Oh, use your imagination.
But in spite of these headline-grabbing dimensions, by the time we arrived, the hype surrounding the world's biggest building had been toned down. Could this be because the billionaire entrepreneur Deng Heng, the man who conceived and built the project, has been called to answer claims of corruption? No one was available to comment about this on camera. Mind you, the country's ever-growing middle class, some 150 million to date, with cash to splash, aren't going to let a little local difficulty like corruption deter them from pursuing their new favourite pastime, shopping. And the extra people coming here could lead to an overload problem.
In terms of the local residents, what do they feel? That tourism is good for them?
Some people, they want to observe more time because this city has a long history of leisure. So many people want to enjoy themselves. If many tourists come, it might destroy this kind of lifestyle.
The challenge for Chengdu will be to preserve its cultural identity as more tourists from inside and outside of China come to see the city.
Chinese tourism is developing so fast. I don't want mass tourism to come here and see the same city as other countries we see in Europe or America.
Mass tourism might have come to Chengdu, but you don't have to go very far to find a slice of authentic Chinese culture. And anybody can join in, although you might get some strange looks.
My final stop before I return to Shanghai is Hefei. A city unknown to many Chinese people, yet a perfect illustration of the changing face of the country. It's one of the fastest growing metropolitan economies in the world.
Just a few years ago, Hefei was a rural backwater, and many people came to work in rice fields like this, while many others went to seek their fortune in the big city. But today, Hefei is the big city, and the modern industrial world has come here.
21-year-old Elena is one of the new influx of country dwellers who've upped sticks, moved to the city and found work in hospitality and tourism, an industry that's booming because of the increase in business travellers. Elena's father died in an accident a few years ago, leaving her mother as the main breadwinner.
My mother has spent her whole life farming back at home. Her life is much tougher than mine. More people are coming to work in the big city to make money and provide for their family. When I first arrived in Hefei, I thought there were so many people here. The buildings were so tall and there were so many cars. The pace of life is much quicker here.
The growth rate here is so fast that it's taken many by surprise. Here's what a well-known travel book says about this city. The provincial capital is a pleasant and friendly city with lively markets, pleasant lakes and parks, but few other attractions. What it omits to mention is that in a survey of the fastest growing cities in the world over the last 20 years, top with a growth rate of over 1,000% was Hefei.
But why here? What's led to this incredible growth? Well, rising costs and wages in the major cities on the East Coast have meant that companies have pitched up here instead, and newly improved road and rail infrastructure has greatly aided that relocation. But if you do find yourself here on a work trip, is there actually anything to do? Well, that's being addressed by the recent announcement of a $5 billion investment by the Dalian Wonder Group, who plan to create 2 indoor water parks, 2 museums, an outdoor theme park, shopping malls and hotels. Already a tourist attraction is CHAO Lake, one of China's largest. Hefei's extraordinary economic progress has taken its toll here, and there have been heavy pollution problems. A reported $250 million is being spent on trying to sort it out. The local tourism chief certainly appears optimistic about the local environment.
The city government has put in a lot of effort to manage CHAO Lake, and it's been a great success. Lots of official departments have worked together to achieve this success. From a tourism point of view, I think it's becoming more and more beautiful, which has attracted a lot of visitors in recent years.
As Hefei evolves into a more leisure-orientated destination, the authorities say they will place more emphasis on conserving the city's natural assets. Up until now, though, this is what Hefei continues to be best known for. It claims to be the lobster capital of China, and a month-long festival dedicated to the crustacean is held every summer.
So you take one, you pull the head off, and you make it look so easy.
These Chinese lobsters are smaller than the American kind and very fiddly to shell. These women peel 15,000 a day. That's 500 kilos.
Tell me why you think people should come to this city.
Hefei is a very friendly city and people are very happy. One of the reasons why people come here from other provinces is to eat the delicious food, eating lobster, drinking beer and making friends. It's the culture of Hefei.
You might not be planning to come here anytime soon, but while the Chinese economy continues to boom, you can expect cities like Hefei to be where the majority of Chinese people will find themselves living and travelling to in the 21st century.
And it's high-speed rail links like this one that have really opened up the country. This journey from Hefei to Shanghai used to take more than 8 hours. Now you can do it in less than 3. China may have the largest high-speed rail network in the world already, but there are plans to increase that 5-fold by 2020, opening up the country for travellers and changing the urban landscape of this huge country even more dramatically.
And what have I learned from my trek around 4 of China's significant cities? Well, firstly, that construction and development aren't going to stop anytime soon, especially in the smaller metropolises.
So yes, bigger buildings, more retail opportunities, more antiquities. Oh, and cuddlier animals. They're all part of China's future. But then, so it seems, are pollution, bureaucracy and a nervousness about opening up too much to the outside world. And these factors may partly explain why international tourist numbers have fluctuated in recent years. Just maybe, boosting domestic tourism along with domestic consumerism are higher priorities right now.
But let's forget the economics for a moment. We can only but gawp as high-rise after high-rise sprouts up. And that's not really what entices us to this huge country. No, it's about culture, adventure, history, and meeting the next generation of Chinese people. That's what will keep us hooked to this epic drama that never ceases to delight, often frustrate, but always amaze.